Hello and Ohio gozaimasu. I'm Karl Haro von Mogel, and talking to me now is Dr. Kenta Shirasawa from the Kazusa DNA Research Institute in the Chiba Prefecture, just outside of Tokyo, Japan. Hi, Kenta. How are you doing?
Hi, great. I'm Kenta Shirasawa from Kazusa DNA Research Institute, Japan, working on cherry blossom.
Yeah. So just before the big pandemic hit, we ran into each other at a conference in San Diego, and you were talking about your research on cherry blossoms and trying to predict when they open. And I understand that you have a way now that people can get involved and perhaps get a kit to test when their cherry blossoms open next year. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that. But first, why don't we talk about what is so significant about cherry blossoms in Japan? So how important are they?
Last week, cherry blossom bloomed in Tokyo and spread
Hmm.
across Japan because cherry blossom is a symbol of spring. So we Japanese people are waiting for the blooming. So I want
Uh-huh.
to know when the flower bloom.
So when we last spoke, it was at the Plant and Animal Genome Conference in San Diego, and you gave a presentation about using gene expression, which genes are turned on and off in the cherry blossoms, to try to predict when the cherry blossoms open. So how has your research progressed in the last 3 years since then? What can you tell us about what's going on inside of these cherry blossoms?
Yeah, in 2020, we found that Sakura has 95,000 genes in its genome. After
Hmm.
that, we discovered only three genes could be useful to predict when cherry blooms open.
I see.
We think these genes are involved in flower blooming.
I see. So you've got it down to just three genes. So you sifted through 95,000 of them to look for genes that are being turned on in the plant while the cherry blossoms are growing and getting ready to flower. Well, that's pretty cool. So you got it down to just three. So, so when it comes to forecasting when cherry blossoms open today, um, how are those forecasts made today, and how is your work going to change that?
Yeah, the current method is based on the observation of air temperature since February 1st.
Hmm.
Since there are genes between temperature and the blooming, so I thought gene tests could be helpful to know what happened in the flower buds and maybe more accurate than the temperature method.
Mm,
Of course, we can predict the flowering days of our own trees. Our method can predict the date from 3 weeks before the flowering.
I see. So just as many as 21 days away from when the flower is going to open, you can tell how many days it's going to be until the flower opens. That's pretty cool. In the springtime, we have a big event in the Central Valley of California called the Blossom Trail, and people go out and they see when the flowers are opening. But it's still kind of when you're going to go see the flowers, you don't know how many are going to be open. And I can imagine for something that is so important and widespread in Japan, everybody wants to go and view the cherry cherry blossoms. You'd really want to know when they're going to open, perhaps to the day. Um, so let's talk about your cherry blossom forecast kit. So you're creating a kit that people can get to test their own cherry trees and perhaps to test them next year. How will this work? Will it work on any cherry tree or just a specific one?
Yeah, in the project, we are developing a at-home DNA testing kit, which is quite similar to the COVID kit.
Uh
I
huh.
think I think many people already know how to use it. So you can extract genes from flower buds and put it in the kit. So this kit shows lines telling the flowering date. So
Uh
we
huh.
are planning this method to be useful for agriculture, where we can know the date of harvesting and disease control.
Okay. So that this would be kind of like those COVID test kits in a way. Instead of detecting whether or not you're sick, it would be trying to tell whether or not these three genes are turned on and where they are at to then tell you like what there's gonna be like a number of lines and that'll tell you how long until the flowers open, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wow, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be a lot more fun than taking a COVID test kit because that hasn't been fun the last 3 years. You one little cough, and then like, oh great, now I gotta, it's familiar for us. We're scientists, but then everybody else, it's like, ugh, this is the scariest way to learn how science works. So it sounds like predicting when cherry blossoms are going to open will be a lot more fun than testing for COVID. So yeah, I think that would be that would be cool. Um, so, who can help out with this project and how can they get involved? By donating to get a kit, do we get to be a part of your research?
Yeah, everybody can join this project. So if you donate, you can get report papers, video conferences, and
Mm,
participate in events in our institute. So I welcome your feedback to improve this kit accuracy.
yeah, and that would be really cool if you can take, data from so many people. If you create a nice, easy way for people to say, "I tested it today and it said this many days," and then have them check, each day, and then tell you, was it right? How did it turn out where they were? Then that would be really cool. You could put that together. That's community science. That would be awesome. Um, so we mentioned the pandemic and what it's like, doing all these little at home test kits for COVID, but everybody's heard about things like PCR and genetic variants, and they've used those COVID testing kits at home. Your project does remind me of that, a lot more fun. Could projects like these make these concepts less scary and more familiar for the public?
Yeah, I really want the people to know and to enjoy PCR and genes for fun rather than the negative background like COVID. So I believe the current project could change this situation.
Yeah, I hope so, and I hope this encourages other scientists to also develop their own kinds of kits like this. And people could be testing their fruit trees to find out when the fruit is going to be ripe. Who knows? It'd be fun if we had a lot more different ways for people to test out what living organisms are doing with fun kits at home. Um, so there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is about the flowering dates. When trees have been opening their flowers every year. I understand that cherry trees, like many other trees, have been affected by climate change and are blooming earlier and earlier in recent years. Has this had an impact on the public discussion around climate change in Japan? Is this a topic that comes up during the festivals and during this time of year?
Yes, the climate change affects the flowering date. Actually, the flowering date in this year is the earliest in this decade.
Hmm.
So in Japan, we have graduation ceremonies in March and entrance ceremony in April. So when I was small, cherry blossoms were symbol for the entrance ceremonies.
Uh huh.
However, the situation has changed. The cherry blossom is a symbol for graduation ceremonies. So it might be a good opportunity to think about climate change through this Sakura project.
So after everybody's graduated, then the cherry blossoms would have opened, and then it's like, hooray, I'm done. But now the cherry blossoms are opening before then, so it's like, no, you're not done yet. It's not time to celebrate, even though the cherry blossoms already appear to be.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, I hope things like this that have changed over time because of climate change, especially very culturally important ones that everybody's watching every year. I hope this is another way that the public can realize what our impact on the world is. And I hope that you get enough donations to make this kit, and I want to hear some good news next year about everybody predicting when their cherry blossoms are going to open. So we're going to put up the link to that. He's got they have a fundraiser on academist.cf.com. We'll put up the link to that, and yeah, donate and get a kit and participate and celebrate all things Sakura.
Yeah, I will welcome all of you join this project.
Yeah, well, so thank you very much, Dr. Kenta Shirasawa from the Kazusa DNA Research Institute. Thanks so much for talking to us, and I look forward to hearing more.
Yeah, thank you, Carl.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.